This may be some of the most important breaking news we have heard in a long time. I was trying to figure out how to position this story, but seriously, Google must face lawsuit alleging hiring bias against conservatives, judge rules. Suit is set to enter discovery. Do y'all know what discovery means? Do y'all know the serious implications of discovery? It means that in this suit, they can compel access to internal communications from Google pertaining to their bias. This is huge. So we have this story from The Verge. I also have this story from The Hollywood Reporter. I'll just do this really quickly with the Wikipedia for discovery in law. This is very important context, so please just let me explain it. Discovery in the law of common law jurisdictions is a pre-trial procedure in a lawsuit in which each party, through the law of civil procedure, can obtain evidence from the other party or parties by means of discovery. Devices such as interrogatories, requests for production of documents, requests for admissions and depositions. Discovery can be obtained from non-parties using subpoenas. When a discovery request is objected to, the requesting party may seek the assistance of the court by filing a motion to compel discovery. This may mean, and I'm not a lawyer, that we're going to learn a lot about what Google talks about when it comes to their internal biases. From The Verge, they say, Google will have to face a California lawsuit accusing the company of bias against conservative job candidates as part of a legal challenge first brought against the company by James Damore, author of the infamous 2017 Google memo. Now, Damore, he has since exited the lawsuit, entering arbitration with Google, but the suit, which argues Google's hiring practices are biased against white and Asian people, conservatives and men, will move ahead after surviving a dismissal motion from the company. In a statement, the law firm representing the plaintiffs said the suit will now move into the discovery phase. Before we read on, because I'm talking about Google here and their bias, make sure you go to timcast.com/donate if you would like to support my work. There's a monthly donation option, cryptocurrency and physical address. The reason it's so important to support me this way is that you guys are the safety net. If I get demonetized or deplatformed, I can still produce and post the content on other platforms. So it is important, but always like, comment, share, subscribing if you haven't already. The story goes on. The plaintiffs in the case are seeking class certification to represent others they believe have been discriminated against, a decision the court will make at a later date. In legal filings, Google has disputed that conservatives are an identifiable class under law. In a decision, the judge on the case said the court indeed has doubts about the viability of the idea, but it is, for the time being, letting the case move ahead. The company did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the ruling. They say in 2017, Damore published a memo questioning Google's diversity practices and attributing gaps in engineering placements to biological differences between men and women. The memo was widely shared and criticized inside Google and then the world, and Damore was eventually fired by the company. His attempt to fight back against the termination included bringing a complaint to the National Labor Relations Board, which decided Google was within its right to fire Damore. Absolutely disgusting. Hit, hatchet, smear job against James Damore. It's unfortunate that James Damore exited the suit, but the suit continues. Now, there is a more in-depth view from The Hollywood Reporter that looks into more of what they talked about, but interestingly, they didn't mention discovery. I believe discovery is the most important aspect because, let me stress, wouldn't y'all like to know what Google's saying about conservatives, Asians, and men behind closed doors? Because you may now find out. I've dealt with many potential lawsuits. I was involved in one instance where the Southern Poverty Law Center smeared me. They apologized, retracted. I appreciate it. But when I talk to many lawyers about lawsuits, regardless, the biggest fear many people have and why they avoid lawsuits is the discovery phase. The idea that your private communications, whether or not you think they're pertinent to the case, could be revealed and cause damage to you outside the boundaries of what the suit is for. For instance, communications may be deemed relevant to this case that cause damage that make reference to a certain product Google has, and it could cause harm. Now, of course, the legal process is more complicated than that. There are some protections, but people are really scared of this. The story from The Hollywood Reporter adds a little bit more detail that I think is important. They add, the National Labor Relations Board reviewed the matter and found in early 2018 that Google didn't violate federal labor law in firing Damore. It concluded the company terminated him because of unprotected discriminatory statements and not for offering critical feedback of Google's policies and programs. Damore and Guterman in November agreed to arbitrate their claims against Google, which left in open court only the claims from McPherson and Burns that they were passed over for jobs because Google unlawfully prioritizes hiring women and certain minorities to the detriment of male, white, and Asian applicants, and discriminates against politically conservative applicants. Now, I'll skip over the part where it says Google asked for the dismissal because we talked about this. In a tentative ruling, Santa Clara County Superior Court Judge Brian Walsh acknowledges that the court has doubts regarding the viability of the putative political subclass. So being a conservative doesn't protect you from anything. Apparently they can fire you if that's the case. But he goes on to say that it will be the plaintiff's burden to show that certification of the political subclass is appropriate. The court anticipates that this will not be an easy burden to satisfy. However, the pleadings do not establish that there is no reasonable possibility it can be met. Now, the suit, as my understanding, is being led by Harmeet K. Dillon. She tweeted this yesterday afternoon. It was a good morning in court in Damore v. Google. Superior Court denied Google's demurrer motion to strike judgment on the pleadings and allowed the suit to proceed to discovery. We have a ton of work ahead. Thankful to all. She thinks the tentative ruling on the cases here, let's open this up. The court will issue an order soon. Particularly thankful to James Damore, thrust into the situation by malicious acts of many SJWs, and who bravely decided to stand up and fight. His individual case is in arbitration. Google since changed its policy and no longer requires this, but other claims move forward. This may be why James Damore actually backed out. He was forced to. He had no choice. So it'll be interesting, right? We'll see what Google thinks. Now, it's important to point out, internally, Google staff are very much so to the left. Not always. I do have some sources within big tech companies. Some of them have pointed out examples showing it's not as bad as people think. I believe this. I believe Google actually is a more resilient company, but it does have big pockets of dense social justice activism. The reason why I think this is true, aside from the sources who have showed me some information, is that YouTube has repeatedly defended some egregious actors. Some. While Twitter, Facebook, Patreon is just banhammer everybody, YouTube actually has protected people to say some pretty messed up things. So I think YouTube is a little bit better, not the best. But here's another story that I think is worth highlighting in this regard. We want YouTube to remove Crowder. Googlers gear up to protest at Pride events. Gizmodo has just published a story yesterday night saying that YouTube staff are calling for YouTube to get rid of Crowder. I believe then it will be very, very easy for that lawsuit to establish internally YouTube is biased against conservatives, or Google at the very least. Google owns YouTube. Google staff have said this. Okay, plain and simple. Now, whether or not being a conservative should protect you is a different case. Story says. It goes on to talk about the Vox adpocalypse. I'm not super concerned with that. They say, there's a lot of unhappiness, especially in Gaglers and other LGBTQ-related groups. A Google employee who requested not to be named to speak freely told Gizmodo. YouTube's public Twitter admitted the content was hurtful, which violates the written policies. Full stop. YouTube specifically said it didn't violate the policies. They understand it was hurtful, but didn't cross the threshold. Gizmodo's doing a framing device here. YouTube's public Twitter admitted, but nevertheless refused to take it down. Demonetization feels like a slap on the wrist in this case. They should at least be taking down the relevant videos. Actually, I think there's a potential compromise there. Because I believe Crowder has to remove like 3 videos to get remonetized. Okay? Maybe Crowder should just do that. But maybe not. I know a lot of people are going to say, no way, stand your principles, but think about it this way. Crowder can choose to lose whatever. He was demonetized already, but he was still making money. He can choose to walk away from that, and I think he's going to, or get rid of 3 videos. It's interesting. Principle versus sustaining your business. I'm not going to tell you what's right or wrong. I think most people, who watch me would probably err on the side of just keep the videos up and refuse to back down. But I will add there is value in stressing Crowder can get his message out more effectively if he has money, and he can then say, okay, we'll take the videos down, we'll take the ads back, which is not a ton of money, but it's a lot. It's substantial, and use that money to fund alternative methods of broadcast to protect him in the future, right? What if Steven Crowder said, I'll keep doing these videos, but I'll do them on Minds. I'll do them on a different video platform. Well, YouTube can't come after him for that, can they? Twitter would. But internally, Google employees want the Pride branding removed. So the reason I highlight this is not to go into great detail on the Vox apocalypse yet again, but I want to make sure I stress that when it comes to this lawsuit and the discovery phase, it'll be easy for them to prove Google employees are biased. But whether or not that targets has to do with race will yet to be seen, and that's what discovery will do. So stick around. I got more stories coming up in a few moments, and I will see you shortly.